Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's check it out.
Management pulled me into the office and said that they were going to release me from my position at work, and they basically fired me.
Right.
I was extremely shocked. It was a serious blow.
Right. Sounds like Meri was fired because it was made known that she was in a polygamous family, polygamous marriage. So, yeah, okay. I don't know the legality on that or the morality of that, but what do I think of it? I don't know. What did she do again for her job? There's so many details in this family. Her job is she wanted to work with at-risk youth but didn't. And I don't know if we ever found out what her job was because I didn't say anything beyond that. But anyway, she's fired. Yeah, I guess I would need to know more details to know how I thought about it.
Really? I want to work with at-risk youth. I just do. And I really do worry that now that I'm such a public figure, I guess, that it's going to inhibit my chances of finding work in that field.
You know, it's just so interesting, and I've been over this already, but just very briefly, if they had just said, like if they lived in Seattle and they said that they're a polyamorous family and that they just happen to be Mormon as well, and that the women could marry other men or have relationships with anyone they wanted to, but they just choose not to, then it would be a completely different social stigma or acceptance, at least among my circle, because there are polycules that are like this. You know, I mentioned I have someone that I know who is in a polycule where there's one woman and 3 or 4 husbands, and they all live together, and there's kids. And you could have, I don't know if I know anyone like this, but you could have one man and 4 wives, 4 women, romantic relationships. And I mean, I did have a client family where it was one husband and 2 wives and children. So it was kind of in this direction, but they were polyamorous, and the freedom for each member, regardless of gender, was there. And there were systems in place, the polyamorous community and the literature and the guidelines were all there, and everyone was given an opportunity to speak their mind and to assert themselves. And it's just interesting to think that if they just define themselves differently, but of course a major shift would have to happen. The women would have to be allowed to have other relationships, which of course is not the case. But it's just interesting how in my circle, you would not be fired for that, at least from my experience. I mean, I'm sure there's cases where that could happen in Seattle, but not from my anecdotal experience. And so it's just kind of interesting. I don't know. We're just saying.
Quite the beautiful scene of Henderson, Nevada. What a trip.
I'm not a bad person. I just have sister wives and I get fired for it. Pisses me off. And this is exactly why polygamists hide who they are. This is exactly why.
Yeah, I think there is a line between advocating for fairness and non-exploitation, from society to say we don't support that, we will pass laws, or we will potentially even fire someone if they are engaging in something that is knowingly or likely resulting in the harm of other people. There's a difference between that, which at least me, I'm cool with and would do. There's a line between that and just discriminating against people because it looks bad or it's weird or there's stigma or it's taboo or something. Yeah. So I would have to have more information as to why the business fired her. She also didn't clearly say that they fired her. She said they basically fired me, which I don't know if she's just throwing in that word, but was she fired? Because there's a chance that they were leading up to that, or they were expressing their concerns, and then she just extracted herself and said, well, I guess that's that, and she basically quit. Yeah, I don't know. But either way, they made it clear they didn't want her to work there anymore. And it could have been motivated by a lot of things, but it sounds like she knows or suspects that it was motivated by that. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, if we want to investigate and condemn the culture and the cult and the power structure and the overall messaging that's around this, that's affecting a lot of people, if that is worthy, then let's do that. But to attack individuals, I just don't think that that's the way to go. Because as she said, she's like, well, that's why we go underground. So it doesn't solve the problem, it just further isolates them. And that sometimes is the very reason why cults will have mechanisms like this, is because they know that society will weirdly shun the individuals and not go after the group. And therefore, the power structure, the cult leaders have more power over these isolated individuals. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So I remember as a kid, the adults in my life would talk about how the older that they got, the faster that time moves by. And I even remember as a kid, when I was like 10 years old, thinking that when I was younger, time moved more slowly. Now, there are a few reasons for this phenomenon, but one of the reasons seems to be that the older we get, the more we fall into a routine and we stop really paying attention to our lives. Well, of course, therapy can be a wonderful place to slow things down and give us a chance to focus on things. Generally speaking, therapists are pretty good at creating a space for us to do that. And sometimes it seems like we need that outside influence to get us to slow down. Well, one place you can find a therapist is BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. So take a moment, visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
But you know what? You know what I'll do? We'll pull the rack back and we're gonna find you, even if it's a teeny tiny piece of it, we're gonna find you some mistletoe, okay?
He was cute.
Oh, I didn't like flirting with him.
We get our own mistletoe.
Nice.
He was fun to flirt with.
He was an innocent, fun person to flirt with.
Okay, so they are admitting, Meri and Christine, that they are flirting with the Christmas tree guy. And this is my cultural lens, I have to admit that, it's my bias, that I would wonder if Meri and Christine have unmet needs, romantic-wise and flirtation-wise, that they are allowing to manifest through the flirtation with this guy. You know, who knows how Cody feels about it. I'm guessing he'd be okay with it, given that they're okay with doing it and that they're okay with talking about it on camera. I can't know that, but I imagine I could see Cody being like, well, as long as it's innocent, you know. So there's that, but I don't know. I'm just looking. I have to admit, I guess as I watch this show, I'm just looking for any sign of their overall needs and any indication of brainwashing or of them being forced or influenced into a scenario that denies them what they deserve and what they want. And are these indications that are pointing at something underneath the surface for them, some burgeoning dissatisfaction? Maybe it's even in response to Robin entering the family. Yeah, and I have all these questions about Robin entering and also the 3 kids of Robin's, because it's a huge change, right? We, in a more mundane way, if you had a Brady Bunch situation, you know, 2 parents come together and they both bring their kids, it's just a huge disruption. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be new. As a family therapist, I specialize in this kind of work and think about and assess and make conscious choices with families around how the system is going to solidify initially, because a lot of times families just kind of come together and then they just sort of cram their systems together, and the way that they end up solidifying the homeostasis, the pattern in the beginning, it becomes the pattern that persists. The initial moves that get made and the roles that are established, he's the scapegoat and she's the quiet one, and that kind of stuff can be haphazardly configured, and there can be downstream effects. And what I would do with families is we would try to be intentional, or try to be a lot of conversation. You want to establish a pattern because you don't want every day to be chaotic and uncertain and unpredictable. You want people to know where they stand and what people tend to do. And, as linear individualistic thinkers in the United States, we tend to think about people as just being people, that their personality is what it is. But there's tons of data and a lot of theory that demonstrates that we are a product of our personality that is independent of what's going on around us, if that's even possible. We're a product of that, plus the role and the way we're being treated and the way we feel, the sort of thoughts that emerge, or the impulses, the personality that emerges for us in particular contexts. So the way that a family comes together, sometimes there can be problems. Now, with flexibility and differentiation, families usually see their way through it. But I wonder what's going on in this family. And I with other shows like Love is Blind, or even with 90 Day Fiancé, I'm given more data to go off of. And in this show, I'm getting almost nothing. I keep looking for things, and then I see this, and I'm like, okay, well, I can talk about this, but it's just kind of like the show. It's just like showing the surface level information, and maybe there aren't any conflicts, there aren't any problems. That's fine, but they don't even really ask deep questions about things, which I think possibly is by design. I wonder if the producers are actually trying to paint this family as all good because they have an agenda of some sort. I don't know. Certainly the family doesn't want to. The other thing is there's a lot of scenes with the kids, and I don't think it's okay that the kids are even on the show. I don't want to focus on the kids. I don't even want to speculate as to what's going on with the kids, particularly publicly, because the kids deserve their privacy. Even if they consented to be on the show, I don't think that they know what they're getting into and the consequences thereof. I don't want to be a part of that. So I don't know. I'm almost done with season 2, and I'm just telling you that I'm looking, and I'm frustrated that I don't see anything. I mean, there's little things like Robin, there's some adjustment issues that seem to be happening. She seems to give off a pretty confident vibe, which I'm not sure if that gels with the family. I don't know. There's also some minor signs, but I can't tell if it's shenanigans from the edit that indicate that Robin is not liked by the kids or is overbearing in some very minor way. I don't know. I can't tell because it's such limited information. And there would be inherent, of course there's, if there wasn't conflict, I would call shenanigans. Of course there's going to be conflict with Robin coming in. It's just factual that that's going to happen. If it wasn't happening, I would say then this is all faked. They're not really in a relationship. Of course there'd be conflict, so there's going to be some highlighted cracks in the foundation. But I certainly don't see any major indication of anything. I'd just be anomaly hunting. So I don't know. I'm just telling you where my head is at this point.
And that's why it's okay.
Well, you have the mistletoe and the kissing ball.
And the kissing ball. I get extra kisses.
He was flirting right back with us.
I know.
That's the one.
You know what sold it to us? What? The tree spin. Would you do it
Really?
again?
Yeah.
Would you do it again, please?
Yeah, that definitely wasn't.
I'd like to see you walk in front of us and twirl around for our enjoyment. Please do that again. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.